More and more credible data and studies have proven conventional opinion wrong. This conventional opinion argues that global warming continued rather than stopped beyond 1998. This conventional opinion continues to argue that people are mainly at fault for this warming. The reality mentioned in my previous articles still stands. Mother Nature's hints that average global temperatures have either stagnated or declined. This gets little to no coverage and enthusiasm. For example, Europe, Russia, Canada, Alaska, China, and northern Japan have continued to experience deep freezes each year. New freeze records got set with each winter. In fact, during the deep freeze of 2012, over 650 people lost their lives in Europe and Russia. This highlights the fact that there has been an absence of gradual global warming since the end of the 20th century. However, this doesn't matter for those that insist that the planet is still warming up. Since the above studies, to include scientific data, made their announcement, a series of articles appeared that tried to counter them. Many of these articles try to argue that these studies only advance a myth and that the planet is still warming. To advance their myth, they've pointed to NASA's weather data and conclusions. They argue that these have shown that it has gotten warmer since 1998. However, a climate scholar reviewing NASA's global temperatures found an error. NASA subsequently adjusted their data to reflect what really happened with average global temperatures. After this adjustment, the 1930s reclaimed the warmest crown, followed by the 1990s, with 1998 regaining the upper hand, temperature-wise, over the 2000s. The year 2005, originally listed as warmer than 1998, ended up being less warm than 1998. Many reference NASA's James Hansen in their argument that the planet has gotten warmer. James Hansen is one of the guys that argued the hockey stick temperature graph. This graph showed temperatures going up exponentially in our time after a prolonged stable period. However, this graph ignored the Roman warming period and the medieval warming periods. Both of those periods were warmer than it was in the 20th century. It was so hot during the Roman period that tunics and robes made perfect sense. There's a reason to why they've found shipwrecks in Rome, between the ancient Roman port and the modern Roman shoreline, and to why people visiting the ruins of Pompeii, standing at the dried out ancient seaport, will see grass and weeds instead of water on the dredged out ground. The actual shoreline is further out. These two observations hint that sea levels were much higher during the Roman period than they are today. Again, it was a lot hotter back then than it ever was during any of our lifetimes. Others, trying to prove the above studies wrong, proudly point to the NOAA. The latter has recently concluded that 2012 was the warmest year on record. However, a blogger anticipated that NOAA was going to do that and challenged NOAA's hottest summer claim. They pointed to a state that supposedly set a record. When the blogger looked at the actual temperature readout for that time period, he found that they didn't support NOAA's hottest declaration. In their article, they argued that NOAA was on track to declare 2012 the record warmest year. Months later, NOAA did just that. Whoever worked the data that NOAA used averaged us temperatures up and played with the numbers. Had they used actual temperature readouts, they wouldn't have concluded that 2012 was the hottest. As for the hottest summer, the North American heat wave of 1936 makes the summer of 1936 the hottest in the past 100 years. Others, who disagree with the finding that the planet hasn't gotten warmer since 1998, point to the CRU. One of their hackemails pointed out the absence of global warming. Nowhere has anybody argued that temperatures haven't gone up. Temperatures rise and fall throughout the day, week, month, quarter and year. That's a natural cycle. What the climate realists are arguing is that temperatures haven't averaged upwards steadily since 1998. A look at the raw data gathered by the official weather stations on the ground backs that argument. But by trying to zero in on the rise and fall aspect of it, while ignoring the average trend aspect, the global warming debaters try to call the counter global warming people's comments to Question. Others have argued that we are putting enough carbon dioxide in the atmosphere to cause temperatures to go up exponentially. Again, a look at actual scientific data proves this wrong. Water vapor constitutes approximately 95% of the total greenhouse gases released into the atmosphere. That's between the sun and the earth. Carbon dioxide constitutes one of the remaining gases that make up the other 5%. Mother Nature contributes 93% to 96% of the total carbon dioxide sent into the atmosphere. That leaves humanity with approximately 5% of the total CO2 sent into the atmosphere. Mathematically speaking, we contribute less than 1% of the total greenhouse gases sent into the atmosphere. The reality is that the planet has and will continue to warm up or cool down without our help. So what's the reality of this situation? Plotting the raw data from all the weather stations, as well as that from weather satellites, haven't shown a mad rise or any real rise in average global temperatures. In fact, they show a declining trend. The absence of media reporting of the winter deep freeze of 2012, where 650 plus people died, and other recent cold weather related events, doesn't dismiss the fact that there's an absence in rise of average global temperatures. In fact, a look at our own history tells us what could be in store for us in the near future. Scientists tracked sunspot activity for centuries. Like clockwork, a rise in solar sunspot activity resulted in a similar prolonged rise in temperatures on Earth. A decrease in solar sunspot activity resulted in a similar prolonged decline in temperatures on Earth. The current sunspot activity is weaker than it has been in the 20th century. The sun is behaving now the way it behaved before we entered the Dalton and Maunder minimums. These periods are collectively known as the mini ice age. If this trend continues, we are going to be in for a prolonged cooling trend, not a warming trend.